This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised. Here we are. Recording. I am recording.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we already recorded, I don't know what I'm going to put out. So it's Monday. And we recorded the Sense of Place on Friday. But it was late and you know, we were both a little bit late. It was just late. We were tired. I had a few cocktails and I was not doing a great job of it. So we recorded it and then I was like, okay. And Jenna was like, let's do this the next day. And so now here we are several days later doing it. We talked about, I do want to put out the trivia because you got that right. And so I'm not going to say that now. I'm going to probably combine what we recorded the other night with this. We'll see.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, what the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Anyways, we had a really fun weekend. It was a lovely, for me, it was, there was too much alcohol for me. It was too much.
She drank a lot.
I did. I overdid it. I basically drank all weekend. I had a really fun time. But
that sounds fun.
Well, Saturday was great. We had a lovely day in the Jeep and we went all out and about and around. And then I just carried it on into Sunday just by myself. Like we went to breakfast Sunday morning and we went to Snooze Eatery, which is quickly becoming my favorite place.
Is that the one here at Grant's?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, by Pastino or whatever.
Pastino, yeah.
And we sat at the bar to get breakfast, and
And let me clarify, when she says we, she means he, and Mark.
That's right, yes. And I was starving. I was so excited. And I always get something called Bravocado toast, and it's delicious. But I changed it up, and I got Italian Eggs Benedict. It's Eggs Benedict with prosciutto. Yum. It was so good. I ate every single bite on my plate. And so we're sitting there. And
what did Mark get?
Like corned beef
hash?
Yes. Yep. And so we both got a screwdriver. And then we ordered another round of screwdrivers. And I was like, well, I actually don't want a screwdriver. I think I want a mimosa. And the girl next to me who, like, we kind of kept bumping into each other because it was very tight quarters. And she said, you don't want a mimosa. You want a lavricado or something. I was like, what's that? And she said, just get it. And I said, okay. I said, fine, I'll get it. And I just listened to her. It was an apricot lavender mimosa.
Okay, I was going to say there's got to be lavender in there. Otherwise, lava.
I can't remember what it was.
Because I was thinking the Bellini,
peach.
Which is peach.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
But it was she was right. It was very good. But then I had a screwdriver and I had a lavender mimosa, and before we left I had a Clamato vodka. So by yesterday afternoon I was very drunk, and this morning was difficult. This whole day has been a little bit difficult.
God, I just watched the Oscars like a good girl yesterday. And then I watched the Willy Wonka movie. I did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka with Chalamet.
Yeah,
who I like.
Great. I like him a lot.
I like him less that he's dating a Jenner now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Kylie Jenner, yeah, I do not. I like him less because of it. A little bit.
No, I don't care either way. A little bit. It just wasn't. There were parts that I liked, but Nope.
What's the storyline then? It's completely different?
Totally different.
Oh.
There's like, where it like kind of mimics the traditional, right? Where like, he
Poor
finds the
kid.
golden ticket
Right.
and his
Grandpa.
parents, both sets of grandparents are in the big old bed together, and then he gets to go and tour the Wonka thing, and it wasn't that.
Veruca Salt.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
Ugh, that's
There were
sad.
some overlays, but
And now, have you seen I'm guessing you have the
Johnny Depp.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that one? I don't think I've
can't-
actually seen that.
It's been a long time, or whenever.
Can't totally
Yeah.
remember.
I'd say original best.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp second.
Yeah.
This one, no, thank you.
Oh, not even third, just like not on the table.
I mean third, but no.
I'm hoping that after this recording, I can get Jenna to watch American Fiction.
Well, you can, but let's get through it.
Okay, we're gonna get through it. I'm gonna say one more TV show because we've never talked about this and we've both seen it. Wilderness on Amazon Prime. I put that on yesterday morning, and Mark generally likes nothing, but he liked it a lot, so much so that when I went over to his house yesterday, he was like, "Let's keep watching it." We're also watching The Gentleman on Netflix, which I talked about Friday night.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Theo James from White Lotus is in it. He's very
That's
attractive.
right.
Yeah,
But yeah, you said a lot of things about him.
I did. I do like him quite a bit.
Quite a bit, putting it mildly.
So I don't know. We're gonna do some kind of combination of this little intro plus the one from Friday night. I don't actually know if it'll come out today, which it's supposed to. I keep saying Mondays. We'll get back to Mondays, the sense of place and the intro, and then Tuesday the episode. It may not happen, guys, but I'm doing my best. So we're gonna jump right into our sense of place. And you know what I didn't say? I'm gonna say it again. I'm not gonna do our little intro, but I'm gonna say that today we are headed to Maysville, Colorado, to unravel the mysterious and tragic case of Suzanne Morphew, a devoted wife and mother of two who seemingly disappeared during a bike ride near her Colorado home on Mother's Day in 2020. As we trace the timeline of her disappearance, exploring the lies, secrets, and unanswered questions surrounding this case, it will become painfully obvious that nothing is what it seems.
I remember because I asked you, well, in 2020, what day of the month was Sunday of Mother's Day? And it's
10th.
right.
Yes, May 10th. So she lives in, or Suzanne and her family live in Maysville, Colorado. But Maysville is an unincorporated community and something called a census designated place, which I looked at both those things, so I didn't know. So an unincorporated area is something that is not governed by a local municipal being. And a municipal corporation is a local governing body. I read all of this 3 times. It still doesn't totally make sense to me. So I'm going to just kind of fly by it.
Wait, it's unincorporated and what?
So Maysville is an unincorporated community.
And then you said one other thing.
And it's called a CDP, a census designated place, which is basically the United States Census Bureau defined this area strictly for statistical purposes. It's a rural community, the edge of cities, a lot of communities located on the Mexico-United States border, retirement communities. It's kind of like not a real town or a city. It's just there for census purposes, from what I understand. I also didn't dig too deep because my brain already kind of didn't.
That's fine. I get where you're indicating. Don't ask further questions.
Do not,
because
'cause
I could come up with a million. But
And
let's
I don't
move
know.
on.
That's right. But the population of Maysville, where they live, is 173.
Period.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're not going to talk about Maysville because there really isn't much.
Wow.
To talk
I get
about.
all right. Well, I'm just being told in some ways to.
Yeah, Maysville's not
That's
going
it.
to happen. So the next closest place is called. It's spelled Salida. And so a lot of times in a lot of articles I read, they'd say that Suzanne and her family were from here. I thought it was
Salida?
Salida.
Yeah.
It's Salida.
Oh, okay.
But so that's what we're going to talk about. Now, Salida, it's kind of located right in the middle, but a little bit south of the state of Colorado. It's about 140 miles southwest of Denver, 120 miles west of Colorado Springs. So it's It's right there. They call it the heart of the Rockies. And it's part of the Upper Arkansas River Valley, which felt weird to me because, like, why is there a river valley named the Arkansas River Valley in Colorado? Arkansas is pretty far.
Why is there a Colorado River not in Colorado?
Oh, good
Yeah.
point. Good
Okay,
point.
also, beyond that, I was going to say,
point.
if you type in Salida, could you just, what's the picture they show?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the map you mean?
Well, or just like a, you know.
Oh, so there's the map.
Yeah, no, I'd prefer a picture. Oh. You know, just like when you type in Tucson into Google and it just shows one, whatever, screenshot or shot.
I'm going to show you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the population?
So the population in Salida is about 5,300. Still pretty small. It's at about 7,000 feet elevation. And this is interesting. The city is a total area of 2.7 square miles compared to Tucson, which is 226 square miles.
But also look at the difference in population, right?
Right. Yes. 5,000 to like millions.
Yeah.
Right.
Millions? Million plus.
Yeah.
I don't actually know, but yeah, let's say it.
Salida means exit in Spanish. And it was named on account of the location near the point where the Arkansas River flows out of the valley and upstream from the Royal Gorge.
See, that's so interesting, though. That's exactly right. When you said that, I could picture, you know, when you're in Mexico, the exit signs say, but they don't pronounce it Salida.
You're right. It's Salida, right?
Right.
Wow. I did not think about that the whole time I was doing this until you just said it. You're absolutely right. That's it. There's 2 public high schools, 3 middle schools. It's small. There's not a whole bunch about Salida. So I have a couple interesting facts about Colorado before we're just going to jump into the story.
She keeps saying we're going to jump into things.
Which is funny because I'm not jumping into anything. I can barely move today. Colorado has came up with the world's first ever cheeseburger. At the Humpty Dumpty Drive-In in Denver, they are credited with serving the first cheeseburger in the world in 1935.
Prior to that, there were hamburgers, I guess.
I would imagine there were hamburgers and probably cheeseburgers, but maybe this is like the first commercial one.
Interesting. Humpty Dumpty in where?
Denver. Humpty Dumpty Drive-In, yeah. In Colorado, I thought this was interesting. Of course, I didn't look much more deeply into any of these things, but
that means don't ask too many questions.
There
Jenna.
you go. That's right. Colorado has its own Bermuda Triangle. It's called the Bennington Triangle, and it's near Hoosier Pass, and it's said to be a hotbed of unexplained phenomena similar to the more famous Bermuda Triangle.
You know who got lost there?
Amelia Earhart.
Ding, ding.
Oh, man, I was going to be embarrassed if that was wrong. Colorado is the only state in history to turn down the Olympics.
I wonder, they were probably trying to go to Denver.
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
I wonder why they turned it down. Probably because it's great for the economy, but not for the environment and not for the locals.
That's right.
I don't actually know.
No,
but
that's true.
My thought.
There's like a huge amount of like rebuilding and changing and this and that has to happen. I think that they just didn't want that. So I guess they call Denver the Mile High City. Mm-hmm. And the 13th step on the state capitol building is exactly 1 mile high above sea level.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, huh? And Denver has a lot of like things that are the only thing in America. It has the longest continuous street in America, Colfax Avenue.
With a K or a C?
C. And
what about the airport? I know, let's not get into it, but that's
It is. And I only didn't include it here because we've talked about it before.
I know,
yeah.
we have to.
There's a ton of
weird
oh my God, a great podcast takes place in the underground tunnels at the Denver airport. Yeah, you say.
Just look it up, guys.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Why don't we say that more? Look it up, guys. The last one I have is that the first drive-by shooting in Denver happened in 1877.
The first drive-by shooting recorded, period, or the first one in Denver?
In Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 1887.
77.
77.
Court Thompson was shot from another carriage after a brawl at the Denver Park Bar.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, Indiana and Kat are having a thing.
They're connecting.
They really are. And that's it. That's our sense of place. Maybe I won't publish this today because that was a brief one, I feel like.
Publish the whole thing?
Oh, the whole thing?
The sense of place.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah. Yep. So, and this story about Suzanne Morphew, Jane Butkus, our like number one story suggester, and love her. She left a message and suggested another story. And I looked it up and I like started researching it, and I was like, there's just not quite enough to do a full podcast episode on. But in researching the one that she suggested, it led me to this one.
What episode is this? 55?
56?
56.
Oh. So we're going to learn a little bit about Suzanne Morphew and her family, her husband, Barry, and their kids. Suzanne was born in 1971 in Alexandria, Indiana. Her parents were Jean and so she was 49 when this story
Thank
took
you.
place.
You saw me counting on my fingers.
Sure did. Kat is really laying into Indiana right now.
She's catching her face each time, but she's okay. They're both okay.
Yes. This is what they do.
I'm sorry, guys. This is more entertaining than Suzanne Morphew.
Don't do it, Henry. And then Henry, I don't ever know who he's, because I never let it get far enough, but I don't know if he's jumping in to protect Indiana or to protect Kat.
He just is
I think,
stop it.
Yeah, he just doesn't like to
Maybe
see
he's just
them
like,
fighting.
"Stop."
And so he'll get up and then he'll start barking in Kat's face, and then Kat runs away. Whole thing.
Okay, I think it's ending.
Okay. So Suzanne's parents, Jean and Adrian, both dead. But Jean died in 2020. And his obituary, it was interesting to me. He passed away peacefully November 11th, 2020 at the home of his son in French Lick, Indiana, after he battled nodular melanoma. But so Suzanne's parents purchased Olson's B&K root beer stand in Anderson, Indiana in 1962, and they renamed it Jean's Root Beer Stand. And it was like a huge staple in the community that they lived
Alexandria.
In Indiana.
But he died, her dad, Suzanne Morphew's dad, died in 2020, you said.
After she already went missing.
Okay, thank you, because I wrote down she died in Mother's Day 2020. Okay, yeah.
And so after the root beer stand, then her dad purchased a farm in Mears, Michigan, where he grew and sold Christmas trees for almost 60 years.
Oh, I recall when you said this the other night.
Yep.
And you were all jazzed up, and I was like, wow.
Know.
Wow, okay.
Selling Christmas trees, how cool. She had an older brother, Andrew. She was well-liked, big into mountain biking. Dogs, come on, guys.
It is a sad day. It's Monday, which is Sunday.
Dogs. So Barry was Suzanne's husband. He was also from Alexandria, Indiana. They met. Suzanne was still in high school. He was a little bit older, a couple years older, and they met on the golf course because he worked tending to the greens on the golf course, and her family lived on the first tee of the golf course.
Oh, I bet they got a lot of balls hit in. No, I mean that. I do mean that.
I know, but all I heard is a lot of balls.
You know, if you live on a golf course,
Oh.
you got to be ready.
Yeah. Do you remember?
She's thinking if I was actually in this memory.
No, there's a 6 feet under episode where somebody hits a golf ball and it goes through this woman's house, hits her in the head, and kills her in her living room. Like she's watching TV and it hits her in the head and she dies.
I don't remember it exactly, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Barry, when he was in high school, he was an excellent baseball player. He got drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays. But
wow, that's a big deal.
Big. He quickly had to retire due to, I believe, a knee injury. They both went on to attend Purdue University and were married in 1994. After their wedding, Barry established a landscaping business. Suzanne was a middle school teacher. And then once they started having kids, Suzanne left her job to be a stay-at-home mom. And they had 2 daughters, Mallory and Macy. Macy was 16 years old at the time of our story, and Mallory was slightly older and in college at Western State University in Gunnison, Colorado. So in 2018, Barry, Suzanne, and the kids and Macy, the younger daughter, moved to Colorado from Indiana because Mallory was in school there. They wanted to be closer to her. Suzanne had been battling Hodgkin's lymphoma, and right before they moved, it had returned.
I mean, I don't
cancer.
know barely anything about that, but that doesn't sound good.
It's not good. You didn't ask, but I'm going to tell.
Yeah, exactly. Like the things I don't ask, girl. Here's more info.
Hodgkin's lymphoma, it originates from a type of white blood cell called lymphocytes, also in the lymph nodes. It's an unpleasant type of cancer.
All right, you should cut that part. Like, just keep it as unpleasant. Also, all cancer, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
white
true.
Blood cell.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say unpleasant.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they said that they were moving to Colorado to be closer to Mallory.
But was there better medical care?
I don't know if there was better medical care, but a lot of people felt that they were moving kind of to get a fresh start because they were having struggles. There were whispers of struggles in Barry and Suzanne's marriage.
Okay. So move. I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just, okay. So like
maybe
a
like
fresh start. Like
fresh start.
Let's have an adventure.
Exactly. Suzanne's sister, Melinda, said that they moved to improve their marriage, but it didn't. They were having a tough time. Barry was very dominant. Suzanne was very passive, and it was causing some issues, apparently, according to Suzanne's sister.
I remember what I said the other night.
What?
Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah, I love that saying. That's right. That's right. You can't move away from you.
Can't move away from you, your relationship. Sure, you can move from your job, but like wherever you go, there you are, or your personal problems. So unless they're about your environment and the
sure, like if you're like living
if your only problem is I hate the desert, well,
right.
Get the heck out.
Right, exactly, exactly. Cody Cox was an employee of Barry's and the landscaping business. That he was very quiet, very stern, but he was a really cool guy. Cody said he often heard Barry and Suzanne talking because Cody and Barry would be driving around in Barry's truck. Suzanne would call. They'd talk on speakerphone. And said they always seemed to be really happy and have a good relationship and communicate well. Suzanne was always making cookies. She was a real sweetheart, a real kind lady, is what he said. Also, I think, that's neither here nor there. Like,
well, it's a snapshot, but that's nice
right.
to know. They were good at times.
Yep.
That's what it lets me know. Not that Cody Cox knew all the things. They were good at times. There was basis for their connection.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, they'd been together since almost high school.
Yeah.
So at this point, in 2020, they're 49 and 50 and they've been together for a very long time. And that is a snapshot of their relationship, all of that. And we are going to now move into Mother's Day, or the weekend of Mother's Day 2020. So May 9th, the night before Mother's Day, Barry said that they had a really nice night. They made dinner together. They made love. They went to sleep around 8 p.m. And the next morning, Barry had to go to work very early, and Suzanne was still asleep. So he left for work while she was still sleeping in their bed on Mother's Day.
This was right at the offset of the pandemic, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it doesn't matter if they would have gone out to dinner. It's nice that they made it in.
They did.
Of course they did. They had to.
Right.
It was May. This
May
is
of 2020.
2 months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're right in the beginning of it. Right.
Either which way, that doesn't matter. But I think that's nice. And also I remember when we started to record this, I said, "Oh, 8 p.m. That sounds nice.
I know.
Dinner at home and
Go to bed at
whatever."
8. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds lovely. So Barry left the morning of Mother's Day very early, 4-ish in the morning. He had a 150-mile commute to a job site in Broomfield, Colorado. So about 3 hours away. And apparently at this time, his daughters were away on a camping trip together, which is interesting because Mallory was in college. So I don't know if she didn't go to college that far. They were close enough. So I think that the daughters apparently went on a camping trip this weekend together.
Well, my first thought was, oh, maybe she was done with the semester, but no.
Probably not.
But it was COVID.
Oh,
So
you're right.
people either stayed in their dorms or wherever they lived.
Or went back home.
It all went
No,
virtual. So
I bet that's 100% why. Yeah, no, you're totally right. That's because I thought that. I was like, why would she be on a camping trip randomly? And no, you're right.
That's all you could do at this time in the pandemic. You go in the wilderness or home.
And that's what they did. So the daughters were away. Barry left for his job. And he said he texted her Happy Mother's Day at some point that day, got no response. Mallory also texted her later that day, Happy Mother's Day, got no response. And so then Mallory called Barry, her dad. I was like, have you heard from Mom? I texted her, I haven't heard anything. He was like, no, I texted her, I haven't heard anything either. And she's like, I'm a little bit worried. So Barry said, all right, well, let me call the neighbor. And so called the neighbor and said, hey, could you go by the house and just see if Suzanne's okay? Is her car there? What's going on? And the neighbor called Barry back and said, yeah, I went by. The car's there, but she doesn't seem to be home. And Barry said, okay, well, can you see if her bike is there? Because she loves mountain biking. So go see if the bike is there. The neighbor went back over, said, I don't see the bike anywhere. And she's still not there. This was
or she's not answering and I'm not breaking in yet.
Right. And so this is, Barry left at 4 o'clock that morning. We're now getting into the evening time, 5, 6 o'clock at night. And the car's there. The bike's not. No one's heard from her.
The bike is not
bike is not there. No. So Barry said, I'm going to come back. Can you call the police? I'm very worried now.
Well, also, I want to know, and this doesn't matter, but you know what I want to know. Well, okay, so we're in the evening, 4 or 5, whatever. Well, when was he going to be back?
That's a great question. And I think...
And maybe he was driving back. Well,
I think
no, because he said, I'm coming back now. He wasn't planning on coming back right then and there.
I don't think he was. I think he was planning to stay.
Which is
in
probably
Broomfield.
Legitimate, and he was working. But
3 hours away,
that's
so he
a
was
good
working.
thought.
Yeah. So, so the neighbor did call the police, and Barry said, great, thanks, I'm going to head back. And police responded quickly and came to the home and started kind of combing the area, driving around. Nobody was at the house. The girls are both gone. Barry's not there, so they can't. There's nobody to actually talk to at this point.
Did they break in?
I don't think they did. I think they waited for Barry.
Excuse me.
That's okay. But they did start looking around the house, around the surrounding areas for her. And within a few hours, they had found something. They did find a clue as to something. And that was her bicycle. So Deputy Brown and Sergeant Lamine Mullinax, interesting name, were driving around the residence and in the area surrounding. So on Highway 50, about 7:30 p.m. that night, they found the bicycle, a blue mountain bike, and it was down at the bottom of a ravine off of the side of a highway. The front tire was pointed downwards towards the creek. And they examined the bike around. Before they removed it, they examined all around it to see, did she tumble down this ravine or what? And there was no indications of a crash. The vegetation around the bike was not flattened. There was no blood.
Looks like someone picked it up and tossed it.
Yep. There was no blood around the bike. There was no damage to the bike, really, no major damage. And due to that steepness, the bike would be severely damaged if she fell down that ravine with the bike, or if, no matter what situation, that bike going down that ravine, it would have been damaged.
The bike looked pretty pristine.
Pretty okay.
And there was nothing surrounding it that looked odd.
Right. And so, but they did examine the bike once they got it out of the ravine. They moved it up. They said the front brake pad was seized and the handlebars were turned completely to the left. So the brake cables wrapped kind of around the bike frame. It's hard for me to picture this, but apparently what was happening with the bike, like what they observed on the bike, if this had actually kind of happened, there would have been skid marks on the road. There would have been a brake, like they would have braked so hard and then fallen this way or something like that, that it would have basically the bike, no brake marks on the street, nothing was matching up. No flattened brush, no blood, no nothing. So something was odd. There was no signs of a struggle, no signs of trying to brake and then, oh my gosh, I hit something and I fell off or I tumbled down the ravine. Nothing like that. Confusing.
Odd.
So on the next day, May 11th, so Barry gets there that night. And then the next day, they talk to Barry around 1 p.m. Suzanne is still nowhere to be found. She was supposed to have a cancer treatment on Monday, May 11th. Didn't show up for the appointment. Obviously, a search party is now being organized to go out and look for her. Search dogs were called. The investigators got a search warrant for Barry's truck immediately. But they didn't find any blood, anything inside Barry's truck, outside Barry's truck, nothing. Well, Barry's truck was with him. He was out of town. So, I mean, that seems reasonable to me. On May 13th, she's now been missing this is the third day. They found her helmet 1 mile away from where her bike was found on the side of Highway 50. Not on the ravine side, on the interior side of the highway. And
what do you think about that?
Well, so what the investigators thought about that is that...
Yeah, I guess I can't ask what you think because now you already know what the investigator thought.
So the investigators thought that, all of this was staged. Now, the bike was thrown. The bike was thrown over this edge because, like, nothing indicated that this bike tumbled down the ravine. So somebody tossed it.
Right, but I didn't think it was staged. My mind went to so here's the ravine and the helmet's here. Mm-hmm. There were two people, and the person in the passenger side, whoever messed around with her, took her helmet and went into the forest or whatever's over here.
That's exactly what they thought.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they thought.
So that's not staged. That's just like what it is.
But it was a mile away from the bike. So it's like her bicycle was dumped and then they kept driving and then they tossed the helmet.
But maybe they weren't trying to make a message of staging anything.
Okay, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
like maybe that's just, they're like, let's split up the evidence and throw shit.
Totally. For whatever reason, two investigators, they kind of thought there wasn't an accident. Like, she was abducted. Something happened to her. There was some type of foul play involved here. She didn't just like toss her helmet this way and then fall down the ravine. Duh. So they talked to Barry about this, and Barry was like, maybe she was abducted. So he made a very public video, a plea video titled "Find Suzanne Morphew." And he spoke directly into the camera to his wife, said, "Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you. We miss you. Your girls need you." And it was an interesting piece of information that I kind of couldn't find. It's odd to me, but so apparently Barry was out by where they found her bike, like on the highway, a day or, a couple days later. And there was some nature YouTuber named Tyson Draper. And they kind of he was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Hey, I'm a YouTuber. Oh, hey, my wife is missing." And Tyson had his phone in his hand and turned on record and held it down here. So when you watch the video, it's just like upside down video of like nature.
Are you going to post it?
but you hear them talking and Barry says like, my wife is missing. Maybe she was abducted. Her bike was found right here. And Tyson's like, oh, okay. What do you think happened? And Barry says like, well, the first night that she was missing, when I got back into town, I came here, there was a mountain lion and it walked right past the police car and an officer saw it. And I'm thinking maybe she was attacked by that mountain lion. And Tyson was like, oh, okay, tell me more. And like Barry talks about it a little bit more, and then police weighed in on this and they were like, absolutely not. There would have been evidence of a struggle, blood, something. Like if she was attacked by a mountain lion right here where her bike was found, we would know that. It wouldn't like she didn't just vanish.
There
into
would be something.
Ether, right?
Even if you didn't know it's a mountain lion, I imagine there'd be
something.
Forget about even a paw print, or something,
right?
A blood, a torn
clothing,
T-shirt.
Yep. So that was quickly dismissed. But
that's odd that he said that.
Right.
That's
investigators were
the
like
point for me.
And then what they discovered next, investigators, it caused them to kind of start doubting whether she even went for a bike ride at all on Mother's Day. Because
interesting.
They now are in the house. They're in the car. They're examining everything. And in her Range Rover, which was parked at the house, never left, they found her sunglasses and her hydration pack, her like camel pack, whatever. Yeah. Her wallet, credit cards,
she would bring at least the camelback on her.
She would never go
ride.
without it. They said the daughter said she would never go without it, never, without her sunglasses and her camelback. But her cell phone was nowhere to be found. That was gone. ID, credit cards, sunglasses, car, everything. All those things, those essential things are there, but not her cell phone. So obviously Barry is a suspect at this point, or a person of interest, I guess I should say. Because as we know, you often look towards the spouse or the partner, the romantic partner. But they talked to Barry several times and he cooperated, and his story always seemed to stay the same. They had a lovely evening on May 9th. They made dinner. They made love. They went to bed around 8 p.m. And the last time he saw her was when he left for work that morning of Mother's Day.
And he made sure to text her, Happy Mother's Day.
Text her Happy Mother's Day.
Or he just texted her.
Mm-hmm. But as they began to kind of examine the home and just Barry in general, talking to him over and over, there were a few things that kind of raised their eyebrows about Barry. They found, and I have great pictures of all of this stuff. They found in the home a dark vertical crack along the door frame of their master bedroom. It's a pretty deep, significant crack that looks like it came from something. It isn't just like, oh, the wood just suddenly cracked and
Where
split.
on the door frame?
Right on the interior of the I have a picture of it.
Where you close the door?
Yeah. I thought I had a picture of it somewhere here. But it was odd. So they showed Barry a picture of the damaged door frame. Yeah, like attached to the wall where you close the door. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they said, hey, what's this crack? We contacted the owners who previously owned your home, and they said when they sold it, this didn't exist. So this is new. Was this an argument? Did you accidentally, one of you get locked out of the bedroom at some point? And he said, I have no idea where that's from.
Oh, that's odd. That's an odd answer, whether he did or not. Also, I don't know how long they lived in that home. I get the previous owners didn't know that or didn't have that.
Right.
Either which way, it's happened. I think the main point, it's happened since they've been there, whether it has anything to do with
this or not.
Right.
Sure.
Bored at home? Head over to Chumba Casino and join some serious social casino fun. With hundreds of games at your fingertips, no purchase necessary. You can play anytime, anywhere. There's a special welcome bonus waiting for you when you sign up. Play for fun, play for free, and you could even redeem some great prizes. Visit ChumbaCasino.com and get ready to reel in the fun. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
But to investigators, they thought, well, maybe there was a physical altercation. Maybe something happened, whether it be right now, like now, and having to do with her disappearance, or just in the past. And that gives us context to their relationship. So they examined Barry, and Barry had some very fresh new scratch marks all above his upper arm. They took photos of it, examined it 3 days after she was missing, and they were about 3 days old is what these scratch marks looked like. Again, nothing definitive, but okay, questionable. And then there were texts. Obviously, police immediately got into, cell phone history and all of that. They uncovered a slew of text messages between Suzanne and a friend of Suzanne's, and then also Suzanne and her sister. And these were all in the months and the days leading up to her disappearance. And these texts indicated that her and Barry's marriage was not that great at this point, at least.
Tell me the texts.
Very different from what Barry was saying, because Barry was telling police, we had a perfect marriage.
Okay, well, I already don't believe Barry if that comes out of his mouth.
Right.
Because no one has a perfect anything.
Right.
But
so
anyways, I get it. He was saying they have a great thing going.
we're good. Everything's great. Some of the texts that she wrote to her friend is, I feel no peace when he's here in the home. I would not feel safe alone with him.
Oh, okay. I thought they were going to be like bitchiness, but like maybe they were just in a fight. Yeah. Okay.
March 25th. So what, 2 months, not even 2 months, month and a half before she disappeared, she texted her friend, I've tried, but he won't even speak to me about divorce. And then on May 6th, so we're a couple days before she disappeared now, she sent Barry a text message that indicated she wanted to end the relationship. At 10:17 a.m., she sent a text that said, I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly. At 3:51 p.m. that same day on May 6th, Barry texted Suzanne, I promise you are wrong about all the crazy thoughts about me. Only a fool would stray from an angel like you. When I'm dead, which won't be long, you guys will be taken care of.
Huh.
Right?
That's all I got. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, but that's all I can. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was May 6th. May 8th, in the notes section of her phone, Suzanne had saved
those notes.
Oh my gosh, mine are just there's
Delete
a lot.
'em.
I know there's a lot. That's what I want you to do. If I ever die, delete my notes section. Just destroy my phone.
Yeah, I will, because I don't remember the passcode. I'll just throw it down a ravine, but
There
then
you
someone
go.
will find it. You know,
No, I know. Take the
apparently.
SIM card out, flush it, and then smash the phone.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So
noted.
Yeah.
In the I'll write it in my notes. I should.
Destroy Margot's phone if
Pull
she
the SIM
dies.
card, put it in the toilet, step on it, throw it in the ravine, put sand over. No sand,
right.
that helps the phone.
That's
put,
right.
Waterlog it.
Yep, exactly. So in the note section of her phone on May 8th, she wrote that Barry accused me of having a boyfriend today. And then Melinda, Suzanne's sister, on May 8th also received texts from Suzanne that Melinda said were lengthy, very revealing, and very powerful. And some of them included things that said he's also been abusive emotionally and physically. I feel more angry now, anger at what I've allowed him to do to me. So
Was there any evidence? Actually, not that I think this. Well, maybe it does matter. Was there any phone evidence that she had another person she was talking to romantically?
let me get there right
Okay.
now.
Well, okay.
No, that's a great question. You are leading me right into it. So 10
Well,
days.
you led me into it.
Well, 10 days after she was reported missing. So now we are on the 20th, I guess, of May. Police discovered something that led them in a totally different direction in the investigation from, because at this point they're kind of focusing on Barry and the potential for him to be involved in her disappearance. They discovered a spy pen in the master bedroom walk-in closet.
I don't know what that is.
So it looks like a regular pen, but it is a recording device.
My God, you guys, isn't it scary to live in this world?
Yes, It is.
Well, that's why you should all be more quiet. I mean, honestly, right though? Like, I'm not saying that to any, but like,
yeah. Yep. Any and everything can be recorded. We are always constantly recorded. That's a whole nother conversation. But here, so the investigation, they were, they found this pen. They kind of looked into it, and that Suzanne had been given by one of her friends a voice activated pen to catch her husband Barry in a potential affair. She thought Barry was having an affair.
Oh, I thought it was going to be being
affairs.
shitty, like being emotionally abusive.
No, she wanted to she wanted to hide it in the closet because she thought he was going in there to like talk to his, whoever he was having an affair with.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that she thought he had been having affairs for quite a while.
Right, because something you said earlier, she was like, I don't care what happened earlier or something.
What you've been doing for years. Yeah. But unfortunately for Suzanne, this kind of actually backfired. She didn't really catch Barry having any kind of nefarious conversations. She actually unintentionally recorded conversations that she was having with a man named Jeff. And based on these conversations that were recorded, it was clear that Jeff was definitely more than a friend. So initially, investigators had no idea who this Jeff who, because they weren't talking. So the conversations were recorded, but they were not talking through regular phone numbers. They were using WhatsApp and things that made it very difficult to find and trace who this person is, because he
encrypted
was just
stuff
saved as Jeff. Mm-hmm. No last
name. Was it Jeff
name.
with a J? Or
Jeff with a J.
Okay.
I like Jeff with a G.
Yeah, that would have been cooler.
I know. So this added a really new layer to the case in terms of not only a suspect, but also potentially a motive, because maybe Jeff's a suspect. Maybe Barry found out about, who knows where this is going.
Well, you do.
I do. So investigators did eventually identify the man that Suzanne was having an affair with. His name was Jeff Liebler. As it turned out, he lived in Michigan and had a wife and 6 children. Him and Suzanne had a brief fling shortly after high school before her and Barry kind of like really got together.
So they had a connection, but like it's been years.
Right. Years and years. It had been decades. Suzanne reached out to Jeff on Facebook in 2018, right when they moved to Colorado. Said, "Howdy, stranger." And after that message, they talked almost every single day until she disappeared for 2 years.
2 years. Whoa.
Yep. What was interesting is that after Suzanne disappeared, which was national news at this point, Jeff did not come forward. In fact, he actually took measures to conceal the 2-year affair. He deleted every social media account he had that they connected on: WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, everything.
Well, if he was full on guilty, I'd say, well, that's why. But also that makes me think he wasn't. He just got scared. And he didn't want to blow up. Forget about scared for her. He didn't want to blow up his own gosh darn life.
That's right. So when FBI agents approached him, he said, "Look, I deleted the accounts because I didn't want to tarnish whatever memory of Suzanne," which was concerning a little bit at first, because we don't know that she's alive or dead at this point. She's very much alive in most people's minds. I don't want to tarnish her memory. And then he also said, honestly, I don't want to lose my family and my job. He was also worried that he could be considered a suspect. So he came very straightforward with all that.
Which is, quote unquote good. Also, like, you're going to be a suspect or a consideration.
Person of interest.
Yeah, person of interest.
Yep. So he didn't come forward on his own, but he did cooperate. He provided DNA evidence, phone records, passwords for his deleted accounts. Like, he cooperated immediately. And after they dug kind of into Suzanne and Jeff's communications, they were able to determine that not only did they talk every single day almost for 2 years straight, but on several occasions, she would go out of town to meet up with Jeff in a variety of places, from New Orleans to Indianapolis to Dallas to Michigan.
Well, that was going to be my question. Did they ever connect
in person?
I'm not trying to minimize that was a relationship, but also did they connect face to face?
Yeah, multiple times. Yeah.
Oh.
They also sent intimate photos to each other. They talked about becoming husband and wife, and they even talked about moving out of the U.S. to Ecuador together. And this relationship became a key part of the investigation, because Jeff was the last person, as of now, to talk to Suzanne.
This also takes away from Suzanne, so I'm just going to say it or ask it and then move on. But like Jeff's family, did they find out about this?
I don't know.
That's interesting though, right? Like
they eventually for sure did, because this is very obviously
national news.
National news, very public. Whether they knew right away or not, they definitely eventually found out. And I don't know what happened to him, and I hope that they survived it, but I don't know.
Doubtful.
Yeah, it's 2 years. It's a long affair.
Talking about marrying some. I mean, whatever. Okay, let's move on. Sorry.
So they went through Suzanne's iCloud account because her phone is still missing at this point. They went through Jeff's phone, and they're going through Barry's phone as well.
They couldn't locate her phone.
No.
Like no Find My iPhone situation.
Pings, nothing.
Oh, that's odd. Mm-hmm. Isn't that odd? I mean, this is 2020.
Very odd.
Huh.
Well, it's odd, except for the fact that if the phone
even when the phone's turned off, I've heard they can still ping it to the closest woohoo thing.
Sometimes they can, but if you remove the SIM card,
there it is. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they found that Suzanne and Jeff had messaged each other 59 times on May 9th. The day before Mother's Day, which was a lot more than usual. Like they talked every day, but that's a lot. 59, 60 text messages back and forth. That's a lot. And I'm a big texter.
How do you have the time?
Right? Well, so at 2:05 p.m. on May 9th, Suzanne wrote, "I'm just in love with you. What are you up to?" And Jeff responded at 2:06, "Want to strip down and get naked? LOL." And Suzanne said, "I'll load up my WhatsApp account." So I think they were talking on a social media account, and then they moved over to WhatsApp.
But what does that mean? I'll load up?
Like I'll
send it over from there?
No, like open up my WhatsApp account. Let's start talking on there.
I wonder why.
Because
what's the move?
It's much more private. WhatsApp is...
they can send more salacious.
There you go.
Yeah.
So at 2:11, she wrote, "Okay, I'm on WhatsApp."
I gotcha. Okay.
At 2:26, Suzanne's phone received a text message from Barry, who was out running errands, and it said, "Done, headed back." Suzanne doesn't answer. So, we don't know. Like maybe she's just preoccupied with getting naked with Jeff.
Yeah.
Probably. So Barry texts her again several minutes later and says, "Did you leave?" No answer.
Leave where? We don't know.
The home, I'm assuming, because that's where she was.
But were they supposed to meet somewhere?
No, not as far as we know. But like he left the house to go run some errands. She was at home. So
I'm coming back. Are you still there? Essentially,
exactly. So shortly after that "Did you leave?" text, where no response was given, he came home. He arrived home, and cell phone records show that when he arrived home, shortly after 2:30, his cell phone was pinging, and they were able to ping it. So, a lot of times it can only be from like the cell phone tower, but they were able to determine that his phone was pinging from the front yard, the backyard, the side house, the upstairs, the downstairs, like all over the house. And when they asked him about this, they said like, "What were you doing? Like, it looks like you were running around the house." And he said, "I was probably out shooting chipmunks, running around shooting chipmunks, because they were kind of a constant nuisance at our house." Investigators could find no evidence of chipmunks or shooting of any type of bullets at chipmunks.
Well, I was going to say,
anything.
like, did he? Of course, when someone says shooting, you know
think
those
gun.
people are asking, "What were you shooting with, and what did you shoot with?" And maybe there was no evidence of any kind of BB gun or gun. Oh, there was. Okay.
Well, investigators immediately thought,
I should be an investigator.
Were you chasing chipmunks, or were you chasing your wife around the house?
Duh.
Right. And so at this point, they decided to tell Barry about Suzanne's affair.
Ooh.
And they said, you knew about this, right? Didn't you? They're assuming that he did. Of course I didn't. No, I had no idea what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I didn't know anything about an affair. Which, like, if he didn't, then he has really, I don't know, at this point, no obvious motive for killing her, right? If that's what happened. But this is the direction that investigators are going in. Except for the fact that they found in Barry's deleted text messages, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and what you have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." So Barry got that text from Suzanne. He responded to it, but he also deleted it after the fact. Just that text message.
Okay.
Which is like, so what? She's going to leave you? Is that enough of a reason to kill her?
Also, deleting that text isn't going to save you, man.
And also, I wrote that question down. Is this reason enough to kill her? And then I thought to myself, if you have it in you to kill somebody,
Right,
do you
don't
need that much of a reason?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Even if he didn't know, let's play that because you haven't confirmed that he didn't know about the affair.
Right.
Even if he didn't even have an inkling, but let's say he did. Like, still, the first person I think investigators look at is the partner, spouse, romantic
Always.
person. So,
does he even need a reason that, like, if you're
no,
willing
if you
to
want
kill
to,
some,
I mean, you could just want to. Or
Exactly.
maybe, I know this probably isn't the case, but maybe he had a partner over here or someone he was interested in, right?
Totally.
So, like, he doesn't
Well,
have
she
to
thought
not
so.
want to be with him, or he doesn't have to not want to be with her.
Yep.
To want to be away from her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, because she suspected that he was having an affair. So the spy pen was discovered about 10 days-ish after. And then following that, it was just more and more evidence continued to be uncovered that made it really difficult to deny the fact that a lot of this evidence was really just directly pointing to Barry and that he was somehow involved. And this became even more significant after police were able to verify that Jeff, Suzanne's lover, was in Michigan and was cleared of any involvement in this. So his alibi checked out. He was not even in the same state as her. He was nowhere near her. He's not involved. And so now what they discovered next really fucked Barry quite a bit.
Well,
it made him
I'm
look
guessing
pretty guilty.
Oh, well, I won't say it.
So they discovered that from 2:47 p.m. on May 9th, remember, Barry got home a little after 2:30, and then we see him running around the house. His cell phone
Killing
shows
chipmunks.
And about 20 minutes later, from 2:47 until 10:17 p.m. that day, Barry put his phone in airplane mode, which meant that they could not track where he was at all.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Airplane mode. Period. Right? Like they know the difference because
They know the difference
You know-
between being off and being in airplane mode.
and or being blocking someone.
Certainly. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
because that would be an important distinction.
Yep. In airplane mode, very specifically. So
Was he on an airplane?
He was not. He was chasing chipmunks, dude.
Well, he was on some kind of airplane if he was, but yeah.
So they decided to try out I guess at the time it was a fairly new investigative technique called digital vehicle forensics. And some guy with the last name Burla he's the only one who invented this technology. And it's different than because initially I was like, this is not new. You can track a car, like where they went and the GPS and stuff. This is way deeper than that. So this pulls data from every computer in your car, which apparently there are multiple computers in your car. It's used, it has been used apparently in murder cases around the world. It's not just your GPS. It's when the door opens, when the door closes, when you're in park, when you're driving, how fast you're driving, like that's all recorded.
Do you have to have a newer, because you know my car, it's very basic bitch car. It has no, I'm not saying it has no computers, obviously. No
GPS, navigation, right? No. Yes, they can
No,
still
yes.
they can still pull,
Okay, yeah.
I believe, from your car. No, they're not going to get did you turn left or right on Main Street?
Right.
But they're going to get how many times your car started, turned
Got
on,
it.
turned off, reversed. And I actually I believe that they can do that. It doesn't have to be a new car or a newer car, but I do not have the exact kind of specs on
we'll
that.
look that up or we won't.
Right. So they were able to pull a stream of data from Barry's truck, and it told a slightly different story than what Barry had told the police. So Barry, remember what he said they did on the 9th? They made dinner.
And love.
They made love. And they went to sleep around 8 p.m.
I wish you'd stop saying it with that voice.
I know, because I can't take it seriously when somebody says make love. I don't know why.
Well, you could change it. They had sexual intercourse. They were intimate.
They were intimate. I like that best.
Yeah.
So he said they went to bed around 8 p.m. The telematics from the car showed that between 9:24 and 9:52 p.m. that night, the doors of his truck opened and closed multiple times. And at 9:25, the gears went into reverse. The truck backed up 96 feet closer to the house, like from the edge of the driveway, right up to the edge of the house.
I mean, he was leaving. He was backing up.
He was backing up to the house.
Oh, he had left. He had come. He had left. He had come. And now he was coming back, backing in.
Backing into the backing very close to the house. So his in reverse, his truck bed is right in front of the garage now.
But not in the garage.
Not in the garage, but very close up to it. It had been parked at the end of the driveway, and he had been opening doors, closing, opening, closing, and then back up.
Oh, it's too bad he didn't have a camera. Or they didn't.
He told police that he set his alarm for 4:30 a.m. on May 10th, on Mother's Day. That next morning, he's going to leave at 5 a.m. to go to his job. His computer of his truck says that those truck doors are opening and closing again, not only at 9:25 the night before, but at 3:30 that morning. So they think that he got on the road to Broomfield way earlier than he said. At 5:38 a.m., Barry texted his mother, Happy Mother's Day. Remember, his phone was on airplane mode. Now it's back online. What was questionable was that between about 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. that day, there was no data recorded by his truck's computers. And they talked to the Burla, who invented this technology. And he said, well, data, it's not a perfect science. It can be missing. Sometimes it gets overwritten. Sometimes there's so many files being logged that then it overwrites the files and you lose stuff.
Could it also be that he just stopped driving his car during that period?
Possibly, but that's not what he told police. He told police he was on the road at that point.
Yeah.
So they asked him, they said, we couldn't pull this from your truck. Can you fill us in? And he said, yeah, sure. So when I left my house, I should have taken a right if I was going to Broomfield, but I took a left because I saw a bunch of elk, and I'm a hunter. So I was curious. I just wanted to check out the elk. Well, by taking a left instead of a right, he was exactly where they found Suzanne's helmet. At 8:10 on Mother's Day, his truck once again starts recording data. At 8:10, they track him in Broomfield, now 3 hours away, which makes sense. He left around 3, 4, something like that. He stops at a bus stop with a big garbage dumpster near Broomfield. And there was CCTV that caught him throwing something in the garbage. Then his truck tracks him to a hotel dumpster, throwing something in the garbage.
Well, also, you're kind of evading something here. Was he throwing a paper cup in the garbage?
They can't tell.
Okay, they
don't
can't
know.
tell at all? Mm-mm. Or you don't know either way.
They couldn't tell. The footage is too blurry, too far
he's
away.
in front of the thing he's throwing.
Right.
Okay. He's
a little
just getting
bag
out
of
of the
something,
car
something,
and throwing.
And throwing things. So a bus stop garbage, a hotel dumpster, a McDonald's dumpster, then a dumpster at a Men's Warehouse parking lot, and then back to a hotel dumpster. So he went to 5 different dumpsters within a very short period of time, opening the truck door, getting out, throwing something. They asked him about it. And he said, well, I have a landscaping business. I have a lot of trash. Sometimes I have a lot of debris that I have to throw away, and I don't want to pay to put it in a landfill. So I just take it to different places. Fine. But why wouldn't you just take it all to one dumpster?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Because if it was a huge load, they would have seen something.
Right.
Like a real heavy pickup. He would have been struggling.
Yep.
So if it's a piece here and a piece there, no.
Very, very.
Or I think no. I don't know.
Right. So after all these dumpster things, that's when he texts Suzanne, "You up? Happy Mother's Day. I love you."
Wait, he said you up?
You
to his
up.
wife? That's funny. Okay, not funny, but
No,
funny.
I get it.
You up?
And then he goes to the landscaping job site, and then he goes back to the Holiday Inn, and he stays there from 12:42 p.m. until 6 p.m.
Okay.
Almost 6 hours he's at the hotel. At this point, he had talked to Mallory, his daughter, asked the neighbors to call 911. This is all happening on that day. And strangely, though, after he asked the neighbor to call 911, you would think, well, I would think, at least for me, if I'm like, Jenna's missing, call 911. I'll be there as soon as I'm in my car. I'm already speeding home. Barry, though, didn't. He went to the hotel where some of his workers were staying for, I guess, the duration of this job, and dropped off some tools, including a shovel. He told them, "I have a family emergency. I have to head home. One of you can go stay in the room where I was planning to stay."
Okay.
And so one of the employees moved into that room. The police talked to that employee and said, "Did you notice anything weird, odd?" And the employee said, "Well, it really smelled really strongly of chlorine bleach in the room." So Barry started his journey back to Maysville a little after 6 p.m. He met the police around 8:40 p.m. at the ravine where they had just found her bicycle. They said the investigator said he was very emotional, and by later that night, the daughters had come back from camping, and Barry had already offered a $100,000 reward for anyone who knows anything about his wife's disappearance.
I was going to ask a question, and then I realized this is why I couldn't be an investigator. Because I was going to say, was it believable, emotional? But that doesn't matter.
Right.
Right.
So at this point, Barry is and remains kind of at the center of this investigation. But they're also not at this point not ruling out other possibilities, certainly. So they
But Jeff's done. He's not.
Jeff's done.
He's not. He's ruled out.
He's ruled out. He's completely fine.
Got it.
So that's really the most kind of evidence, and that's a lot of evidence. The spy pen, this. It's the most evidence that they have at this point, and months go by now, and things are kind of cold. Like not a lot is happening. And at the 6-month mark of her disappearance, the county sheriff gives an update and says, "We'd really like anyone who communicated with her on social media to come forward. We're really focusing on her social media presence as part of the investigation."
Wow, that's kind of interesting though, because I am like pretty inactive on social media, and like I have people that like request me on Facebook here and there, and then or they'll message me and like, "Oh, your art or this or that," or "Have you ever?" I had someone the other day say like, "Have you ever thought about putting music to your art?" Like that's a lovely thing to say, but like. If I go miss it, like they're gonna talk to that guy, like he's knows
nothing,
right? Like I understand why, but also I understand that could delay things in a way, but they have
kind
to
of muddy things,
right?
because,
Like just let's spread our umbrella or whatever it's called out here. Yeah. Wow. Huh.
So they said that as Suzanne kept in touch with friends and family a lot through social media, and we know that sometimes people don't come forward because they're afraid they may get someone in trouble or be afraid that like if I reach out that I talked to her on social media, I might be a suspect. So we're happy for people to reach out anonymously. And at this point, we are hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst. And to preserve the integrity of this investigation, we cannot reveal all that we have learned, et cetera, et cetera. He said, the last thing he said in this press release was, "That said, with each day that passes, we learn new information in this case." And that was like no truer words were spoken, because it seemed that even though it went kind of quiet for a minute. Then more came out. And the evidence against Barry continued to stack up. So around this time, they found a clear plastic needle cap in the family's dryer. And whether they found it at this time or they found it earlier and it just came out here, unclear. They determined that this was a cap from a syringe used for loading tranquilizer darts. And the theory, the kind of working theory that the investigators had, because they are definitely still looking at Barry, is that Barry came home on the afternoon of May 9th. He entered the garage. He removed this cap from a syringe that he used for loading tranquilizer darts. He injected the dart with a chemical and then shot Suzanne. And then chased her around the house when he said he was chasing chipmunks.
Once he had maybe injected her
Yes.
and she was kind of coming around or down or whatever.
Barry, they asked Barry about it, and he said, I have no idea how that ended up in the dryer, obviously. But he said, but I am very skilled in using tranquilizer dart guns.
Wait, okay, so he said, I have no idea how that ended up there, meaning I've never had that.
That's
not mine.
It's not mine, but he is very experienced with using tranquilizer dart guns. They couldn't find any in the house, but he said, I know, which is so odd to me. He literally stated, I know how to load darts with paralyzing chemicals because I have used that to unlawfully sedate deers and remove their antlers.
Yeah.
And this is where I hated this man.
The velvet antlers. You know that velvet?
I know I don't like that either, but I like him even less after reading this. He said, the first thought when I moved here and I saw deer in my yard with big horns was, I'm getting them horns. And I'll tell you exactly what I did. I shoot them. They go to sleep. I cut their horns off. It's totally illegal, but you're going to find tranq darts around my property because I have done that. But I don't know how it ended up in the dryer.
Okay, thank you. That's how it is. It's not, oh my gosh, I've never seen one before, even though I know how to use them, or I haven't seen them in a decade.
Totally.
I've used them since I've lived here.
Yes.
I don't know why it's there.
Exactly.
But I've used them. They've been in this vicinity. Okay. That makes
And his kind of
sense.
argument was like, well, yes, I'm admitting that I've used them, but like, you can't say that I didn't put that in the dryer. You can't even say that that's from one that I use. Like, you can't link it to me specifically.
Well, duh, we can't 100%, but now we are.
Right. So they took this tranquilizer information and they used it. They kind of connected it to the whole chipmunk thing, or to blow the chipmunk story out of the water, because they talked to an expert and they said with a tranquilizer gun like that and the chemicals that Barry was talking about, it can take between 4 and 20 minutes for a large deer to kind of
That's exactly
drop.
what I was thinking. A little baby chipmunk done in a minute or three.
Done in a minute. But that's why they thought he wasn't chasing chipmunks. He shot her and was chasing her while she was kind of like, getting sleepier and sleep or whatever happens with the tranquilizer dart. And that the crack in the doorway to their bedroom and the scratches on his arm, that all kind of, they're piecing this all together. So at this point, Barry's like, okay, they are really coming after me. They are thinking that I did this and I didn't. And he had given no interviews up until this point, really. So he finally gave an interview with the local Fox News station and said, this is the most devastating thing that ever happened to me, but I have to keep my faith and trust in God. And Suzanne trusted the Lord. And if one person got saved from this, she would think it was worth it. We are just a godly, loving, caring family. And this is just a tragedy. And then he said, the sheriff's department screwed this whole thing up from the beginning. And now they're trying to cover it up and blame it on me. He said, my buddy was right there after they found her bike. And he told me that they destroyed the evidence. He tried to stop them, but they wouldn't listen, and said, this is not CSI. There's no evidence for the investigators to see because the sheriff's department completely obliterated it. So he's now kind of trying to shift the focus onto them, obviously. But unfortunately for Barry, the police were like, this is a joke. We don't believe you. And everything we have, although very much circumstantial, we think it's enough for an arrest warrant.
Can I tell you where I'm thinking now?
Yeah.
it's all pointing to Barry, right?
It is.
Suddenly I'm thinking, is it not Barry? I don't know. Go on. But that's where my head just went.
So this is the evidence they have: the broken doorway, the scratches on his arm, the suspicious behavior with his phone pinging everywhere, the weird data from his truck with all the 5 trash runs and stuff, the contradictory statements about the perfect marriage versus the texts that they found on the phone. Like it
You're
is all
missing a big one.
circumstantial, but
The tranquilizer thing in the dryer.
Yeah, all of those things. So the DA agreed with the police that this was enough for an arrest warrant. And on May 5th, 2021, nearly a year after she disappeared, even though they had not found her body, Barry was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and tampering with physical evidence and attempting to influence a public servant, which we don't know about yet. He was held without bail. And the arrest affidavit, which is like 250 pages and it's public, so I read through a lot of it. What the prosecutors say, what the DA says, is it had become clear that Barry could not control Suzanne's insistence on leaving him, and he resorted to something that he has done his entire life: hunt and control Suzanne like he hunted and controlled animals. Which I thought was a very statement. And they also kind of outlined what they thought happened.
I'm
day.
still waiting to hear who did it because I want to say things, but now I've got this other thought in my mind, so I don't know. Go on.
So in this, like I said, this arrest warrant, it was just it was extensive. There was a lot of notes in Suzanne's notes app that were uncovered here. And basically, it was 60 lines in there of apparent issues that Suzanne had with Barry. And some of the excerpts are physical abuse, women on Facebook. This is just a bulleted list that she had. Trips to Colorado, lies about deer, but his pants are unzipped. Chased me around the resort and threatened me. Took my phone. I'm not safe with you. I can't be trusted. Slams on the brakes when when he's angry. Verbal abuse. Writing money from accounts without asking or discussing. I found him in the hot tub talking to himself. Accused me of a boyfriend. Shame and guilt on a daily basis for not meeting his expectations. Telling me what to do with my body. It went on and on. Threatening to jump out of the car when I was driving. Keeps a gun. Acts like I'm intruding every time I come into the garage.
Ooh, that one. I know those were all bad, but that really, right there, where you're, ooh.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all way worse than
All
that
bad.
one, but that one struck.
So Barry hired some very high-profile attorneys from Denver. And in September of 2021, Judge Patrick Murphy heard the prosecution's evidence in open court. He wanted to hold a preliminary hearing to see if there was enough evidence for this to go to trial. He wasn't sure, the judge. So the defense, Barry's team, was saying that this whole case rests largely on that clear plastic cap in the dryer. And that's bullshit because we don't know how long it had been there. Barry's DNA was not found on the cap. We don't know if he used it. It's just totally innocuous. We don't know. And then something really shocking came out in court in this pretrial. And it said there was DNA evidence that was made public for the first time in this pretrial hearing from Suzanne's car. They swabbed Suzanne's whole car and they found male DNA on the glove box. It was not Barry's. It was not Jeff's. It was a partial match to the DNA of a male who had sexually assaulted and attacked 3 women in Tempe, Phoenix, and Chicago. And this gave Barry's team kind of cause for there's another, you can't say without a doubt it was Barry. There's another potential man involved. Strange man.
His DNA was in there.
This strange man's not
Right.
Barry's. Yeah.
No, I get
Yeah.
it. That's why exactly when I didn't think it was going to be that far off, but I thought something feels different.
Right.
It could be Barry. I don't know.
Well, so the judge listed 3 possible scenarios. The judge said, look, either Suzanne left willingly because she was unhappy, Barry killed her, or someone else abducted and killed her.
And they just had a problematic relationship at times, or all
Exactly.
the time, or whatever.
Right.
But they talked about leaving and going and coming, and they're cheating a little bit. But
Sure, they were unhappy. It doesn't mean he killed her.
right.
The judge then said, I find it unlikely based on this evidence that she just ran off on her own because of how much, there was a ton of evidence presented that about how much she loved being a mother, how close she was with both of her daughters. It seemed unlikely that she would just like up and leave, especially if she wasn't leaving with Jeff, which she wasn't. So the abduction theory of this strange male DNA was not so quickly dismissed. The judge thought this was plausible because why is there random male DNA from this man who has sexually assaulted multiple other women?
Well, where was it found? In the car?
In her car, in her Range Rover, and on the glove box.
Okay. I'm all okay. It was
oil
was
change.
was it a used car? A bought used car?
I don't know.
Right, but okay, I'm
You're
just
right.
trying
No,
to
yeah.
think of
course,
right.
yeah.
Who else has been in that
Did
car?
you have a valet drive your car and park
Right.
it?
Who knows what people do in your car?
Right.
Yeah.
So the judge concluded, he said, quote, I find that the proof is not evident, nor is the presumption great that Mr. Morphew committed first-degree murder. However, there is still enough probable cause to go to trial. So at this point, Barry's been in jail for months and months, awaiting this pretrial hearing and stuff.
I feel like it's going to be a mistrial.
The judge finally offers $500,000 cash-only bond. Barry pays it. He has to wear an ankle monitor. His daughters come and get him out of prison. They are standing by his side. They believe him and support him. And the trial is set to begin April 28th, 2022. Leading up to the trial, Judge Patrick Murphy recused himself because the defense attorneys, so Barry's attorneys, raised questions about a conflict of interest, which was never made public. But some conflict of interest.
Annoying. I want to know.
So the judge had to recuse himself, and Judge Ramsey Lama replaced him. What a name.
Cool name.
Mm-hmm. Barry's defense team, led by Iris Eaton, filed motions asking that the prosecutors, so the DA, be sanctioned for failing to produce evidence in the discovery phase. So that DNA, that male DNA, they didn't share that, I guess, when they were supposed to. They just brought it up in the pretrial hearing, which is apparently unacceptable.
So it can be dismissed.
So in a press conference, Barry's lawyer, Iris, says, there's DNA that is placed on all critical items of evidence in this case, on the bike helmet, in the house, in the car, that is linked to this unknown male, which that is also new. Like, that didn't even come out. She brought this out in this press conference.
Right. Isn't she doing exactly what she didn't like whatever himself to do? To bring it out without...
Well, the DA, so the prosecutors, should have presented this to her months before, and they didn't.
Got it.
She just got it all now,
So
and
can
now
she
it's
get
too
it
late.
dismissed?
So in April 2022, Judge Ramsey Lama ruled that the DA and her team repeatedly missed deadlines and failed to turn over important information. And the judge wrote, it is clear to the court that there's a pattern of discovery violations in this case attributable to the people, so the DA. Their actions amount to negligent and arguably reckless disregard. And as a kind of punishment, we're going to knock out 14 of their witnesses, including experts on DNA, cell phone, and vehicle data. They cannot testify anymore. So at this point, there's no body. There's no blood evidence. They aren't able to use any of their eyewitnesses or experts. This case is now almost impossible for them to win against Barry. So on April 19th, 2022, a week before they're supposed to go to trial, DA Linda Stanley, the same DA who filed the murder charges against Barry, filed a motion to dismiss the murder without prejudice, which means that they can they can charge him again. So we're dismissing it, but we can charge you again. It's not like a double jeopardy.
This
or
isn't
whatever.
this isn't over if
This
someone
isn't
doesn't
over.
want it to be over.
Right. And apparently it was because the DA said, we are very close to locating her body and we want to wait until we have the body, because then this is a sealed case. Like, then this is an open shut case against him, is what they thought. They thought that finding Suzanne's body would solidify their case. They had information about where it was located, but it was so buried in snow, they had to wait. And so on April 19th, the judge dismissed the case against Barry. He walked out of the Fremont County Courthouse, a free man, with all charges being dropped.
I don't believe that's the end of it. Is that the end?
We're close. On September 22nd, 2023, 3 years after Suzanne went missing, her body was found. It was found during a search conducted having nothing to do with her. They were searching for somebody else and came across remains about 45 miles from her home. And vehicle GPS records, coordinates, and cell phone records indicate that Barry was nowhere near this area on May 9th or May 10th, the days that she first disappeared. And the DA, it's a different DA located where her body was found. It's a different DA that's ruling over that area, that district. And she said, although locating Suzanne's remains is a critical component, and for her family, we are left with many more questions than answers. It would be a disservice to conduct a news conference at this time. Shortly after this, Barry filed a $15 million lawsuit against prosecutors and the DA, accusing them of having tunnel vision in suspecting only him and no one else.
Wow. Like I don't know, obviously. Oh, are we not, No,
No,
that's it. It's open-ended.
The most recent thing that's come up is that in February 2024,
like yesterday.
yes, like yesterday, I had to think about that for a second. There are two of the prosecutors are accused of retaliating against the judge and withholding evidence. So now it's come out that the DA and some of the prosecutors were trying to participating in a scheme to investigate the judge in search of damaging information that could get him recused. So they were trying to now get another judge recused from the case. They were trying to tamper with the case, essentially.
Yep.
And so now DA Stanley is facing discipline of her own. They're pulling up all of her old cases. And as of today, Barry is still free and living life and possibly innocent. We don't know.
Well, it seems like you think he's not
I
innocent.
think he's not innocent. I do not think he's innocent.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
I do not.
I find it,
I think he's not.
like, I can't imagine being the family of a loved one. Not that I'm sure it does, quote unquote, help or unhurt when you know who did what they did, all the things. Because when you tell me all these cases or whatever ones that are unsolved, I find it frustrating.
It is
and
frustrating.
I don't know these people.
I absolutely thought, when I was researching this before I knew the end, I thought 100% Barry is going down.
Well,
he is
and
guilty.
the investigators and the police department and right.
I'm killing chipmunks. I saw a picture. I'll have to post this picture.
Maybe he was trying to conceal his affair, though. Maybe he was having some affair.
You know what's interesting is that so Suzanne suspected it. In all of my research, I found nothing about Barry having an affair.
Maybe because he, quote unquote, concealed it, even
Yeah.
though they were more focused on, is he the killer?
Is he the murderer?
Right. So, like,
I think he did it.
I think he was having an affair. I don't know who did it.
It's just like,
Well, I hope we find out, I guess.
so odd to think like, I mean, I don't know. This one really got me. I don't know why. I just found this like so frustrating.
They found her remains?
They found her remains.
Okay.
But I mean, 3 years, so there's not a ton that's coming from the
No,
remains.
I was going to go a different direction if they hadn't.
Oh, yeah. They found them. I think it's Barry. I think it's also really interesting that his daughters are so diehard by his side. like fully believe that he had nothing to do with this.
Okay, well, you're putting words in their mouth.
I am putting words in their mouth, but they
seemingly were by his side by what you read.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a picture of the three of them leaving the courthouse, like all linked arms.
Well, it's also the only parent they have left.
I know. That's true. That's
So,
true.
I think that's all hard to say.
It is. You
don't know anything about them either.
You're right. I'm insinuating.
They could be out of their rocker.
That's right. They could be crazy too.
Well,
I'm thinking that Barry's crazy because he killed his wife.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's convinced.
Yeah, I am. I don't know. That's a lot of evidence. Like all the car stuff. We went to bed at 8 p.m., but then you back your truck up. You're moving her body.
But also, what about the weird DNA that has not...
That's true. No, it is true. It is true. It is curiouser and curiouser.
Well...
There we go. That's it. I know. I was really...
Good night, guys.
I was expecting...
Have dreams and nightmares about what you think happened. And also, it'd be interesting if... I think it would be interesting sometime to do a case... Interesting, using it lightly, but yes, on someone who was murdered in one way and they know who did it, but the person is still like out there.
Oh.
Where you could say like, this is his description.
Oh.
Keep an eye peeled.
Yeah, well, that would be great
Okay,
to do.
no, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to switch the thing.
No, I would like to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Actually,
Anywho.
We've talked about like doing ones where people are just still missing. I found a really good one that she's been missing for like 20 years. So we're presuming she's dead, but nobody's been found. I wonder... I could do that still, right? Even though we do murders, I feel like that's okay to do once in a while.
You have to ask them, not me.
Them, the listeners?
Well, yeah.
Listeners, there's our question.
I'm fine with it.
Would you be fine with a case where we don't know for sure somebody's been murdered? Because there's a lot of really interesting cases. And also, maybe they are still out there. Maybe.
Well, I think some of them probably are.
Yeah.
They're in different places.
Exactly.
Some people just want to
disappear.
That's the noise of disappear.
All right. Well, that is our case. And I will say that my thoughts go out to Suzanne Morphew's family. Maybe not Barry, but the rest.
Well, mine go out to her family for sure. She's dead either way.
Yeah, that's true.
Whoever killed her or whatever happened to her.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess I'll hold my condolences for Barry for now.
Well, you can have... I could be very wrong. I could be very wrong.
I know you could. I feel neither which way.
Oh, okay.
So I'm holding off either sentiment or condemning.
Well, I'm going to put a Google alert on for Barry Morphew, and we'll see if anything comes up in the next months.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I have a question to ask you off the podcast.
Okay.
It's not salacious at all, but we just don't need to do it now.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please go follow all of our things. Leave us a review on Apple. Follow our Patreon. And we will be back with another episode next week.
Thank you. Good night. Wait, you didn't say it.
You say it.
No, you say first.
What do I say? I say, what are you going to say?
Good night and good luck.
There you go.
Night, night.
Bye, guys.
Death by Southwest is hosted by Jenna Schneider and Margot Carmichael.
Executive produced by Margot Carmichael.
Produced by Jenna Schneider.
Audio editing and sound design by Margot Carmichael.
Music by Soundstripe.
And a special thanks to Edward R. Murrow for letting us borrow his famous sign-off phrase, good night and good luck.